Freedom is often seen as a vast, abstract concept involving life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yet sometimes freedom is something much smaller and personal. Freedom can mean not smiling on a bad day, driving in any shoes you like, or enjoying time travel movies without judgment. These simple rights are often overlooked. It's the unspoken right to live your life without bureaucrats questioning your choices. Now prepare for a global journey, exploring laws that might shock an American deeply. How much should a speeding ticket really cost? In America, it's a fixed amount. But Finland uses a far more personal and potentially terrifying system linked to income. Finland's day fine system calculates tickets based on daily earnings, resulting in massive fines for wealthy offenders. One businessman paid nearly $60,000 for 14 miles per hour over. This system aims for equity, but might seem like a punishment for success to Americans. It balances justice by linking penalties to personal income. In Milan, Italy, smiling is not just a choice or mood reflection. It can actually be a legal requirement under certain circumstances. This law surprises many because smiling is usually voluntary. Yet in Milan, it's considered part of social responsibility and public decency. These laws around the world show how freedom and personal rights can vary dramatically depending on culture and government philosophy. Exploring these unique legal ideas opens our minds to how different societies balance individual freedom and collective responsibility. There is a bizarre old law still on the books that requires citizens to smile at all times. Exceptions are only for funerals and hospital visits. Today, you won't see police enforcing this smile law with tickets. Yet, its existence shows extreme government control over personal expressions. It seems like a prank, but is real. Imagine a government so concerned about disrespecting history that it bans time travel in movies. This is not science fiction, but actual policy in China. Chinese state media regulators outlaw films and shows featuring time travel, claiming they treat serious history frivolously. No Back to the Future allowed in Beijing. For a culture that enjoys time-bending blockbusters, this ban is a foreign concept of creative control and censorship, unlike anything familiar. In Denmark, if you want to name your child something creative like Apple or Pilot, you need to check the government's approved list first. Denmark has about 7,000 official names approved. Choosing a name outside this list requires special permission, especially for unusual or strange spellings. In Norway, there is a system that prevents bullying on playgrounds, which American parents would find hard to understand. This is a government rule, regularly enforced and strictly observed. In the USA, children are constantly exposed to advertising for toys and sugary breakfasts. In Norway, any advertising aimed at children under 18 is banned. The complete ban on advertising on television, radio, and the internet is based on the belief that children are vulnerable to commercial pressure. Childhood, there is quiet and protected. In the Icelandic capital Reykjavik, there were no dogs for a long time. Owning a dog there was illegal until 1984. The ban existed due to serious public health measures, preventing the spread of dangerous parasites from dogs to humans. After the ban was lifted, dog ownership was strictly regulated for several more years. It's hard to imagine a city where the joy of having a dog was prohibited by law. The Netherlands demonstrates legal contradictions, especially in Amsterdam's famous coffee shops. There, you can legally buy and smoke cannabis inside. If you try to light a regular tobacco cigarette, you break the law. The country has a general tobacco ban. You can't even add tobacco to a joint. This creates a strange paradox. A drug banned in many countries around the world is allowed here, while a regular cigarette, legal in itself, can lead to problems. 8. In the Philippines, there is a crime called unjust irritation. The name sounds as strange as the concept itself. This law prohibits deliberately irritating another person strongly. It is a universal article applied when other laws do not fit. This means that a minor quarrel with a neighbor or a bad joke can theoretically bring you to court. It is a weapon for those who believe a law is needed against that guy. 9. The classic American image of a soul-crushing, windowless office would be illegal in Germany. Their occupational safety laws are very specific. There must be a source of natural daylight and a view of the street. Most Americans have never even considered asking for this worker's right. Citizens of Monaco, renowned for its glamorous casinos, are legally prohibited from gambling in their own country. This prohibition was established by a 19th century prince to protect his subjects from financial ruin, while foreigners freely spent money in Monaco's casinos. The rule exemplifies "do as I say, not as I do," a policy where leaders restrict others while enjoying privileges themselves. Planning a summer road trip through Spain's beautiful countryside? Before driving, check the local fashion laws to avoid trouble with the police. Spanish traffic police can fine you for driving in flip-flops, sandals without heel straps, or even shirtless. This law ensures drivers' safety by regulating footwear. The reasoning is that such footwear can reduce control of the vehicle, but arguing about shoe choice with an officer can turn a fun drive into a stressful experience. The carefree freedom of a summer drive becomes a list of potential violations when you must consider every detail of your attire to avoid fines. Imagine if your curfew was set not by your parents, but by the government. In South Korea, this was the case for young gamers under 16 for several years. The law banning gaming automatically disconnected players under 16 from popular online games from midnight to 6 in the morning to combat gaming addiction. The goal of the law was to help children get enough sleep and prevent an epidemic of gaming addiction. The state intervened in family life, turning companies into digital babysitters. This forced a whole generation to come up with new ways to play online, bypassing restrictions and changing their habits. Everyone loves free Wi-Fi. You see an open network and just connect. It seems like a simple and harmless action. In Singapore, however, connecting to someone else's unsecured network without permission is considered a hacking attack under computer misuse laws. That very free internet you connected to just to check your email can lead to a huge fine or even imprisonment. This law makes you think twice before connecting to someone else's network, even if it seems open and safe. In Denmark, a child's name is not just a personal choice, but an act regulated by the state. There is an official list of about 7,000 approved names. Such control helps preserve cultural traditions and prevent the use of inappropriate or harmful names. If your name is not on the list, special permission is required. The reason is to protect children from names that might cause ridicule. Names like Pluto or Monkey are rejected. Americans, accustomed to naming children after fruits, cities, or Game of Thrones characters, perceive this law as a bureaucratic restriction on creativity at birth. The British government plans everything, including ways to avoid complications related to your sudden death. It is illegal to die in the Parliament building. This is not an ancient superstition, but cold bureaucracy. By tradition, death in Westminster Palace entitles one to a state funeral. To avoid large expenses and ceremonies for everyone, death in Parliament was made illegal. This brilliant solution raises an amusing question. How exactly do they intend to punish the lawbreaker? This question remains open and brings a smile. Imagine a romantic anniversary dinner. You order a bottle of wine, and after the first glass, the wife hears a warning. The waiter informs that the wife has exceeded the legal alcohol limit. This strange rule applies in La Paz, Bolivia. The law limits the amount of alcohol a married woman can drink. It sounds like fiction, but it is reality. Such unusual laws reflect cultural peculiarities and bureaucratic approaches of different countries to life and death. In some places, women are legally allowed to drink only 1 glass of wine in a public bar or restaurant. This outdated rule reflects sexist beliefs about morality and alcohol consumption. The husband can order unlimited drinks, illustrating a rule that is shockingly sexist, yet still exists today despite modern values. In Canada, being a witch, wizard, or sorcerer is perfectly legal. The government does not forbid practicing magic or identifying as a magical person. However, pretending to use witchcraft to commit fraud is illegal. The law targets deception, not actual magic or supernatural powers. This leads to a legal paradox. To convict someone, prosecutors must prove the person does not have supernatural abilities beyond a reasonable doubt. Imagine the difficulty of such a trial, where proving the non-existence of magic would be the key to a conviction. In Italy, especially in towns of Tuscany, it is illegal to hang laundry on balconies facing the main street to preserve historic town aesthetics. This law ensures that bed sheets or underwear do not flutter in the breeze, keeping the charming look of historic town centers intact. For Americans familiar with suburban clotheslines and backyard drying, the idea that sunlight and fresh air need a permit is both confusing and funny. It's a mix of small-town charm and strict city rules. For most Americans, obtaining a driver's license is a fundamental rite of passage. It represents independence and the transition to adulthood. Imagine denying this right to half the population just because of their gender. Until June 2018, Saudi Arabia was the only country where women were legally banned from driving. The repeal of this law was a momentous event celebrated globally. The existence of such a ban into the 21st century is a powerful reminder of how basic freedoms are defined differently around the world. The First Amendment guarantees freedom of speech in the United States, protecting even unpopular or offensive ideas. Contrast this with the situation in Russia. A 2013 Russian law criminalizes distributing propaganda of non-traditional sexual relationships to minors. The vague wording allows it to be used against pride parades and activists. In Greece, wearing high heels is prohibited at ancient historical sites. Sharp heels can damage the fragile stone of monuments. This law is for preserving cultural heritage. If you plan a photo shoot at the Acropolis, make sure your shoes are approved by archaeologists. The law sounds too strict, but it protects historical monuments from damage. In the USA, store employees can refuse service if you are shirtless, while in Greece, a ban on high heels at ruins has become a new dress code rule. Your home is your fortress, a place for rest and freedom. But in Singapore, if you forget to close the curtains and are naked in view of passers-by, it is illegal. In Singapore, walking naked at home in public view is considered a public offense. It's not about what you do, but who might see it. The law turns your living room into a potential crime scene if you don't follow visibility rules in your own home. Such norms regulate public nuisance. Breaking the law by being naked is not all. It's even worse if you poorly manage your windows. You've seen this in dozens of romantic comedies. Classic moment. A forgotten love bursts through the church door and shouts, "I object," right before the vows. It's a well-known cinematic trope. But in Australia, such a romantic gesture is more likely to lead to police intervention under the Petty Offences Law. The violation is seriously punished. Intentional disruption at a wedding, funeral, or religious ceremony is a specific, punishable offense. Cinematic drama won't work here. Your important moment could end with a fine and a court hearing instead of a romantic happy ending. The law is harsh but fair. You are relaxing in the tropical paradise of Thailand. It's 38 degrees in the shade outside, and you have just rented a scooter to explore the surroundings. It makes sense to take off your shirt to catch a breeze, but that's a mistake. In Thailand, it is forbidden to ride any transport without a shirt. This is not a safety rule, but a law about public morality and cultural respect. A classic trap for tourists. This example perfectly illustrates the clash between the Western concept of relaxation and the traditional values and rules of other countries. In Denmark, it is forbidden to start a car and leave it running unattended, even in your own yard. This law aims to reduce air pollution and increase responsibility. Because of this law, warming up your car on a cold morning can make you a violator. For Americans used to starting their cars remotely from home, this seems like excessive control. In Ireland, it was illegal for a long time for unmarried couples to live together. This law reflected the country's deep Catholic traditions and persisted into modern times. Although the law was rarely enforced in recent years, it symbolized a society where personal relationships were controlled by the state and religion. Imagine having to hide your relationship not from your parents, but from your own government. This was part of life for many in Ireland. This rule is not about safety or protecting the environment. Instead, it focuses on keeping the beach walkway completely clear for people to walk freely. The regulation reflects extreme bureaucratic control, punishing even the innocent joy of childhood. Here, building a sandcastle is seen as a crime. Kicking over a kid's sandcastle may be mean, but in this place, constructing one is the actual offense under the law. In South Africa, laws allow car owners to attach flamethrowers to their vehicles to prevent hijackings. This is a real legal right, not a joke. After a rise in violent carjackings, a device called the blaster was created to shoot jets of fire from under car doors. Authorities approved it. The flamethrower device is legally classified as a security tool, not a weapon, making it an extreme but legal anti-hijacking measure. This may be the most extreme Mad Max-style solution to public safety anywhere in the world. surprising to see on a car dealership's option list. In Turin, Italy, laws slightly modify the laws of physics. The local legal system provides unique interpretations to natural rules in the city. There is a rule in the city that dog owners must walk their pets at least 3 times a day. Failure to comply threatens a large fine. The local council believes that caring for the welfare of dogs is an important public issue. This creates an unusual situation with the legal schedule for dog toilet breaks. The phrase, "the long arm of the law," takes on a new meaning, as the schedule for dog toilet breaks is now officially regulated. It's both funny and strict. In the United Arab Emirates, privacy and reputation are taken very seriously, especially online. Insults in messengers are considered a criminal offense here. Offenders are punished with fines, deportation, and imprisonment for using obscene language in private digital messages. For an American used to frequent swearing online, this is frightening. A nasty text to a friend can become evidence in a criminal case. In Brazil, if a politician is found guilty of corruption, their punishment may include not only imprisonment, but also a clean slate. The clean slate law allows politicians convicted of corruption to start over in certain cases, which raises debates about fairness. A law was passed to disqualify anyone convicted of serious crime from running for office for 8 years. It followed a massive public petition with millions of signatures. This powerful tool stops corrupt officials from serving sentences and then returning to power. Many Americans would likely appreciate this level of accountability at home. For many years, divorce was almost impossible to obtain in the Philippines. Along with the Vatican, it was one of 2 sovereign states without legal divorce provisions. The country's strong Catholic influence viewed marriage as an unbreakable sacrament. For generations, a bad marriage was like a life sentence with no legal way out. Slowly, laws are changing. This issue reflects a deep clash between civil law and religious doctrine, affecting millions of lives in the Philippines. In Sweden, parents face strict rules. They absolutely cannot spank their children. Sweden was the first country to ban all corporal punishment of children in 1979. The ban includes spanking, slapping, or any action intended to cause physical pain. The law aims to protect children's rights and promote their well-being. Nonviolent parenting is a new concept for many Americans. In a culture where spanking is still debated, an absolute ban on it redefines parental authority completely and radically. Singapore is known for its clean and orderly society, maintained through many strict rules. One surprising rule is that feeding pigeons is illegal, considered a public nuisance. Feeding pigeons contributes to their overpopulation and disease spread. Violators face significant fines for tossing breadcrumbs to birds. This exemplifies Singapore's philosophy on public order. Singapore believes that every small act of disorder threatens the greater public good. This strict approach maintains their famously clean and safe environment. In Belgium, owing money to the government can lead to creative debt collection. Bailiffs may seize and sell part of a debtor's furniture to cover unpaid taxes or fines legally. Essentials like beds or kitchen tables cannot be taken, but items like designer sofas or antique bookshelves are fair game for auction. Imagine coming home to find a legal notice warning your living room decor will be auctioned by tax authorities. This method is very direct and impactful. For many Americans, Sunday is a day for household chores. On this day, they mow the lawn, hang shelves, or start the leaf blower. But if you try to do this in Germany, you might get a visit from the police. There is legally protected quiet time there. On Sundays and holidays, making loud noises is prohibited. Mowing the lawn, drilling, hammering nails, and even loud vacuuming are forbidden. It is a day of peace and quiet, a right that neighbors can and will defend. Such strictness would drive a DIY enthusiast from the USA crazy. Everyone knows that drinking and driving is a bad idea, but what about drinking and riding a bicycle? In Germany, you can lose your driver's license for that. The permissible blood alcohol level for cyclists is lower than for drivers in some American states. If caught, they may have their licenses revoked immediately. Authorities can declare you unfit to operate any vehicle, including a car, and revoke your license immediately. This is a serious penalty. In Germany, road safety regulations apply even if you ride a vehicle with only 2 wheels. This law ensures safety on all types of roads. Until 2015, it was illegal for pubs in Ireland to open on Good Friday. This law lasted for 90 years, reflecting strong religious traditions. Good Friday and Christmas were the only 2 days when the entire country was dry, with no alcohol sales allowed anywhere in Ireland. The holy hour on Good Friday became a national legend. People stocked up on alcohol the day before, preparing as if for a disaster. The repeal of this law marked a major cultural change in Ireland, a country quickly moving away from its conservative past. In Japan, companies can be held legally responsible if their employees die from overwork, a phenomenon known as karoshi. If a court decides that an employee's death from stroke, heart attack, or suicide was caused by excessive workload, families can sue employers for damages. This legal stance has led to laws limiting overtime and forcing companies to make employees take vacations, recognizing that work can be deadly. There is a place in France where UFOs are officially recognized and studied by authorities. The small winemaking town of Château-d'Œuf passed a municipal decree in 1954. It banned the flying, landing, or takeoff of flying saucers or flying cigars. The law was a clever publicity stunt that brought worldwide fame to the town's wine. It has never been repealed, making it a unique legal oddity in France. Any curious alien visitors planning a wine tour of France must check local zoning ordinances first. Their intergalactic journey could end with their spaceship getting a parking ticket. In Western Australia, it is illegal to possess more than 50 kilograms of potatoes at one time. This applies unless you are a licensed grower or seller. This bizarre law dates back to the mid-19th century. The government tried to control the potato trade through the Potato Marketing Corporation. Yes, there was a real potato police force that inspected and seized illicit spuds. For Americans used to buying large bags, this sounds like a parody, but it is the law. France takes its cheese very seriously. It has wrapped it in layers of legal protection under the Appellation d'Origine Contrôlée system. For example, a cheese like Roquefort has strict rules about its origin and production. This system preserves authenticity and quality for French cheeses. Cheese can only be called rogue if it is made from the milk of a specific sheep breed and aged in the natural caves of Roports. This is not just a recommendation, it is the law. This regulation creates a sort of cheese police that protects the honor and integrity of hundreds of traditional products. Think the FDA is strict? Try telling a French official your Wisconsin brie is genuine. In New Zealand, flying a kite in a public park without local council permission is illegal if the kite reaches a certain height. Some parks require permits once the kite crosses about 50 feet. The rule aims to prevent interference with drones, birds, and other park activities. Imagine wanting a simple pastime and suddenly filling out forms for kite flying. By committee, Kiwi style, tossing a coin into Rome's Trevi Fountain is a tourist rite of passage, but taking one out is a serious crime. The fountain is not a public piggy bank. Every night, the city collects thousands of dollars worth of coins thrown in during the day. The amazing part is that this money is donated to charity. This charity helps the needy in the city. Taking even a few euros would not only break the law, but steal from funds meant to feed the poor under the sea god's watchful eye. Today, a beard is just a style choice. But in 18th century Russia, under Peter the Great, it was a political statement and a tax source. Peter the Great forced men to pay a beard tax if they wanted to keep their facial hair. They received a special token proving payment. This was a government effort to modernize Russia by shaving off old traditions from the faces of his subjects. Imagine being audited by the IRS just because of your 5 o'clock shadow. This beard tax was a literal war on facial hair. For most Americans, reliable home internet is a basic utility, like water or electricity. But in Cuba, private Wi-Fi was once illegal. For years, Cuba's government held a strict monopoly on telecommunications, limiting access and making state-controlled internet very expensive. Access to Wi-Fi hotspots in public parks showed how controlling information can turn a normal right into a privilege for a few and a crime for many people. Most American cities have departments for sanitation, transportation, and public works. But Christchurch in New Zealand had something very different on its payroll for over 20 years, after a university tried to remove popular speaker Ian Brackenbury Channel. Public outcry led the Prime Minister to appoint him as the official wizard of Christchurch City. Ian was paid a modest salary to perform acts of wizardry and other magical services, an official role quite unusual for a city budget. Imagine trying to create a line item for sorcery and public divination in a United States city budget. The paperwork alone would be a curse. In the United States, to have your child play soccer, you just sign a waiver, and that is all you need. In France, however, you must visit a doctor. Many school sports and clubs require a formal medical certificate proving your child is physically fit. This is not only about elite competition. Even basic gym classes can encounter this. It adds bureaucracy and expense, turning simple sign-up into a medical appointment. In the modern world, disputes usually involve lawyers. But in Paraguay, a different, dramatic option exists that is technically legal: dueling. You can challenge someone to a formal duel in Paraguay, but there is a morbid twist. Both participants must be registered blood donors first. The logic seems to be that if you engage in an activity that might require a blood transfusion, you should first contribute to the blood supply. After reviewing 49 absurd legislative rules, only one remains. Before the grand finale, it's time for the final verdict and an award. The award for the most gloriously absurd law goes to New Zealand for officially putting a wizard on the government payroll. This law wins because it perfectly combines the mundane and the magical. Imagine the bureaucracy involved in hiring a wizard. What is considered a tax-deductible expense? What retirement plan exists for a sorcerer? The complexity of making magic an official city job is simply unmatched and overwhelming. Do you agree with this? Share your opinion in the comments below. Now let's move on to our final fascinating fact, number 50, about television regulations. In the United States, television is available free over the air or via subscription services you choose to buy from companies. However, in the United Kingdom, watching live TV on any channel, including but not limited to the BBC, requires paying a government-mandated television license fee. This license is not a subscription, it is a tax. It is enforced by a specialized agency with detector vans patrolling to find unlicensed viewers. Failure to pay this fee is not a civil issue. It can result in criminal charges and a significant fine for the offender. Imagine sitting on your couch, watching the Super Bowl, and receiving a threatening letter for not paying the mandatory television tax. This system makes the most common global pastime into a potential crime, turning everyday TV watching into a legal risk. These laws are far from mere odd rules. They humorously reveal unique historical traditions and cultural quirks about our societies. Our fears and clumsy attempts to control the world reveal much about human logic. From protecting donkeys to regulating bathtubs and even the afterlife, anything seems possible. So, what is the one unwritten rule in your city or country that you believe should become an actual law? Share your ideas with us in the comments. For more fascinating journeys into legislative absurdities, make sure you are subscribed. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode.